That smell! It's almost worth having a wooden boat just for that smell you get from peeling the cover back, and especially on a day like today when it's a little bit chilly. It's definitely autumn, everything's damp, but peeling the cover back you get this blast of slightly warmer dry air with the smell of varnish and canvas. It's lovely, and it's not just the smell, I guess, it's the association that it has for me. It takes me back to my first summer sailing, when I had a mirror dinghy, and I was just happy to have learnt to sail and have a boat, and I do remember that being a particularly warm and dry summer. And after that summer I started a long succession of fiberglass racing boats that just didn't have the same sort of sensory appeal, if you like, and now I've started doing wooden boats again. It's bringing back happy memories from that time, and I guess I'm trying to make the same kind of memories for my kids as well, hoping that when they're my age they will have the same happy associations with the smell of wooden boats and canvas, which is coming. I think the sails are dapped on, so the canvas smell must be coming from the cover up at the front, and the canvas smell for me, I guess, is taking me back to our old big orange family tent. And actually, that summer when I had the mirror dinghy, it was the last summer that we used that tent. But this boat, these videos that I'm making are really all about trying to make happy memories, or happy experiences, I suppose I should say, for us as a family, with Tarka the sailing boat. And our trip on the Norfolk Broads about a month ago now was largely for the purpose of testing the Norfolk Broads as a possible place for Tarka and the kids and Sarah and me to go on our first camping trips. I'll tell you a bit more about our trip. I'll show you where we went, and I'll show you some of the video that we shot on that trip. But the reason I'm here this morning is just packing up Tarka to take her home. She's going to be on the drive for a week before going off to the boat builders in a week's time for not quite sure how long, but again there's a long list of jobs, little bits of just bits I want checking out by the boat builder, a few little repairs, a few modifications, and just a general MOT, just to make sure there are no bits on Tarka which need more attention than I've realised. So the Norfolk Broads trip, we hired a boat from Hunter's Yard, which is a place which specialises in old wooden gaffers from the 30s and 40s. Our boat was a 3-berth gaff-rigged yacht called Wood Anemone, and she was made in 1949, and we had her on a hire from Saturday midday until Monday morning. It was just Sarah and me. The kids were in the good care of Nana for the weekend. So we set off from Hunter's Yard, which is in Ludham, and the plan was to sail that afternoon up to Horning, moor there for the night, and go to one of the pubs in Horning for dinner. When we got there, there wasn't a berth anywhere to be found, not on the village side of the river anyway. There were berths on the other side of the river, but there was no way of getting across. There's no ferry that we could see, so we had to rethink. I put Sarah ashore for a few moments, Well, she went and found a shop and bought a bag of pasta and tomato sauce, and then hopped back ashore, and then we had to hot-foot it back to Ranworth. That was our next plan. We had about an hour of daylight left, and when we left Horning, so we had to use the little electric engine to get back to Ranworth as quick as we can, or Malthouse Broad I should say, because Ranworth Broad of course is the one with the nature reserve, and Malthouse Broad is the one that you can sail on, but confusingly has Ranworth Village right next to it. We sailed into Ranworth Broad and towards the Staithe, and there was a warden or a ranger very kindly ushered us into a mooring space, and he welcomed us and said, you won't have a very quiet and peaceful night, I'm afraid. We had noticed there was a wedding party going on by the side of the Broad, on a grassy lawn in a big marquee, and he told us, it's the youngest daughter of some local VIP getting married today, and the party was going to go on until 3 a.m. So it was getting dark, we couldn't navigate after dark, so we had no choice but to moor up and put our earplugs in that night. We went to the pub in Ranworth, had a good dinner there. Following morning, got up, peeled back the canvas top and put the roof down, got ready to sail. The forecast was quite breezy. We've been advised by the people in Hunter's Yard that reefing would be a good idea with the forecast for Saturday being, I think the forecast that we saw on Saturday for Sunday was in the region of 15 knots, gusting 20-25. So we put a reef in and sailed downwind back down the dyke out into the Bure, and then turned to go, I can't remember if it was right or left, but along the Bure a little way, and the plan was to go up the Ant, so under the Ludden Bridge, and up to Barton. And we'd have the wind behind us most of the way, and we knew that we might have to beat or quant or use the electric engine to come back down the Ant against the breeze. It wasn't as windy as forecast, but we had a nice slow sail up towards Ludden Bridge, stopped for lunch next to a windmill, went for a short walk, and then continued on. And as we went further up the Ant, there were more trees lining the bank, so there were more wind shadows, and we went slower and slower, and in the end we had to use the engine quite a bit to just get through the patches where there were no wind at all. Came out onto Barton Broad, where even there wasn't anything like as much wind as forecast, so we just sailed slowly across Barton Broad and then back again, and into the Ant to make our way back towards towards Ludden. The plan was to get fairly close to Ludden that evening. So a combination of it was electric engine, and we did a bit of quanting actually. We thought we should try a bit of quanting. Some of the boats from Hunter's Yard don't have any engine at all, and so the only option is to sail or quant. The quant pole was just on the side deck, and we thought we really should give it a go. So both Sarah and I had a go at quanting, which was reasonably successful. We didn't fall in. We got the boat going, but I'm ashamed to say we didn't quant for very long. We went back we did a little bit of sailing actually. The wind picked up slightly, and so we did a bit of beating along the narrow river back past where we'd had our lunch, and then onwards down towards Ludden Bridge, where taking the mast down and getting us under the bridge and back again. Only took us about 20 minutes this time, far more slick second time round. And then the last bit of the day was really the best bit of the day. It was much less sheltered south of Ludden Bridge, and we were able to sail most of the way down the rest of the Ant, and then once we turned left into the Bure we had the wind with us and the tide with us, and we had a fabulous sail in the evening light back towards the mouth of the Thurn. Turned left up the Thurn, quite close to sunset by now. The wind was starting to drop off, but we ran gently up the Thurn looking for somewhere to find for the night, and we found a grassy bank just a little way south of the turning up towards Hunter's Yard. Put our rond anchors out and rigged the boat up for sleeping, put the roof up, put the awning up, and cooked our pasta and tomato sauce that we'd bought from Horning the night before, and had a much more peaceful night moored up on a wild stretch of river than we'd had the previous night moored on the stay at Ranworth. Next morning there was absolutely no wind, so we didn't bother getting the sails out, just quietly motored up to back to Hunter's Yard and handed the boat back. So that was our Norfolk Broads trip. I didn't get a huge amount of video, but I did get about 5 minutes or so of the best bit, or part of the best bit, turning left out of the Ant into the Bure. So I'll just run that video now and talk at the same time a little bit about what we learnt from our Norfolk Broads trip about sailing on the Broads, gaff rigged sailing, and everything really that's relevant to how we move onwards with our adventures on Tarka. When we bought Tarka, I had some rough ideas about where we would take her. One was on our annual Lake District holiday instead of Seabear. Another was to take her with us on our fairly frequent trips to the coast to see relatives in Norfolk, Suffolk and the New Forest. More vaguely formed ideas included exploring estuaries in Essex, Devon and Cornwall, and possibly Wales or even Scotland. Probably the most clearly formed idea for the near future, which involved using Tarka's camping capability, was short trips on the Norfolk Broads. As you may well have noticed, there's not enough space on Tarka for all four of us to sleep, so the plan was to take just one kid at a time. I think the inspiration came from another dad I know who occasionally takes one of his two children at a time on camping weekends. It sounded like a great way to spend some quality individual time with your kids, and I thought it might be even more fun to do it on a boat. An extension of that idea would be for all four of us to sail Tarka on the Broads, but with one adult and child sleeping ashore, either camping or in a pub. A wildly ambitious thought was that we could possibly aim to cover the whole of the Broads over several years' worth of trips. The first reason for the cruise on Wood Anemone a few weeks ago was to have a bit of a recce of the Norfolk Broads, to check the area out for that purpose from the guaranteed comfort of a hired yacht. The second was to have a look at how a gaff-rigged cruiser is set up, to see if there are any lessons or ideas we could take onto Tarka. And the third was just to have a pleasant weekend away. Why did I earmark the Broads as a potential area for these early camping trips? Firstly, because of the very safe and unintimidating nature of the sailing. We want the kids to be completely relaxed and ideally not frightened at all on our sailing trips. Secondly, we want a sense of a journey with a destination, not just sailing around on a small lake. Lots of things to look at as we sail along are also a plus, and on the Broads there are houses, windmills, wildlife and lots of other boats passing by. Thirdly, the Broads are not too far from us, just over a 2-hour drive, so reasonable for a weekend. Our time on Wood Anemone confirmed the Broads has all those qualities, but it also threw up some issues. One is that having a destination in mind, either a pub or a campsite, is problematic. Partly because moorings might be taken, and partly because the amount of time it takes to reach your destination could fluctuate wildly. Cruising through the evening as far as the wind and daylight allows, and then stopping in the middle of nowhere and being self-sufficient for the night is much more fun and less stressful. A campsite with a guaranteed mooring would be great for a family trip, but on first look there don't seem to be many such places. A self-sufficient weekend for just two then sounds like a better plan, but another issue that became clearer to me, Sarah would probably already have realised this, is that a weekend on the Broads could be a whole weekend pretty much entirely within the confines of the boat, and this is a lot to ask of a 6-year-old. I would probably have to try to plan in interesting places to stop. Are there enough places? There might be. More research and planning is needed on that one. Another issue with the Broads, which possibly slightly spoils the romance of the whole experience, is how busy the rivers are with motor cruisers. The cruisers that we encountered on our weekend were, to be fair, mostly driven courteously, but part of the joy of sailing is that it takes you into a wilder world which relatively few people are able to access. On the Broads, it sometimes felt a bit like you should go ashore if you wanted a bit of peace and quiet. So, does that all mean that I need to rethink my plans? Well, not really. For a start, despite what I just said, it certainly is possible to find peace and quiet and wildness on the Broads. We really found plenty on our weekend, and I expect other areas would be less busy, maybe upstream of Potter Heigham, maybe the Southern Broads. I'd be interested to hear about your experiences if you'd like to leave a comment. Also, my plans were only speculative and very undeveloped. I definitely feel far more informed now about what to expect from the Broads. There may be some problems which I hadn't considered until now, but I still think that if I'm going to take Kira or James on a sailing and camping weekend away with Tarka, the Broads would be one of the best places to start. Of course, having the boat and somewhere to sail it are only 2 of the basic ingredients needed for the kind of family dinghy cruising I have in mind. A third is an enthusiastic crew, and that is the one on which I can only have a very limited influence. It's impossible to know how keen the kids are going to be for trips on Tarka over the next few years, and that's probably the factor which, more than any other, will dictate how much family cruising we do. Early signs are fairly promising, but they might well decide that there are other things they would much rather do, which would be quite understandable. After all, this is my idea, not theirs. All I can do is give sailing its best chance of capturing their imaginations by controlling the controllables, as I've often heard members of the Olympic sailing team say. For me, this means creating the opportunity and doing what I can to make it as appealing as possible. Hopefully, Tarka will prove to be a good choice of boat. Having her fully ready to go and having a clearer idea on where and how we might use her are 2 big controllables I can work on this winter. How it goes after that will, to a large extent, be up to the kids. Even if their enthusiasm quickly dwindles and they want to do something completely different, we already have some good memories in the bank, and I am having a lot of fun right now getting Tarka ready for however far we all want to go. So, what did we learn about traditional sailing techniques that we could bring onto Tarka? Probably the most interesting and useful thing we learnt was how to scandalise the rig. I won't try to explain it, but I will post a link to one of Hunter's Yard's instructional videos so that you can see it being done by someone who really knows what they're talking about. If we want to be able to scandalise Tarka's rig, we will need a topping lift. About 2/3 of the way up Tarka's gaff there is a fitting which I had guessed was for attaching a topping lift, but sailing Wood Anemone reminded me that for a topping lift to work properly, it needs to be attached to the boom. That fitting on the gaff has become a mystery fitting again. My best guess now is that you could possibly attach a sort of auxiliary halyard to it for the purpose of pulling the gaff snug to the mast when the mainsail is reefed. Anyway, rigging a topping lift to Tarka's boom has gone onto my list of jobs, so that we will be able to scandalise her rig to our heart's content next year, as well as being able to lower the mainsail completely without having to catch the boom. Before I finish this week's video, just want to have another quick look at the jib, because a lot of you have posted some helpful comments about what might be causing the jib to just refurl itself slightly when I unfurl it, which I showed you in the first video. So the boat's down the driveway now, I'm back at home, and it's a chance to take the jib off and put it on the floor of our spare room here above the garage, and see what happens when I unfurl it. Some people suggest there might be a twist in the actual luff rope. That's kind of quite well sealed in at the top and also at the bottom, so yeah, I think a sort of twist in the actual luff rope is unlikely, and there certainly wouldn't be an easy way of solving it, I don't think. Other people suggested the swivel at the top might be a bit stiff. That's not actually here, it's down the boat, but I did have a look at that. That was swivelling very freely. Looked like it did have a little bit of some sort of grease in it. It was spinning fine, so it's not that. Another suggestion was that the jib itself might have a little bit of memory of being furled in it, that might want it to twist itself back up, rather than the rope, which was what I was blaming, the furling rope as it spins around the pulley at the bottom, the furler I should say, might be twisting, and that might be the thing that is causing it to to furl back up slightly. But I'll spread it out on the floor, unfurl it completely, and we'll see if it has any kind of inclination to retwist itself. Okay. And let's have a look. So there it is. It's not really showing a strong sign of wanting to twist. I can see maybe just a little bit at the bottom. Maybe just a little bit there actually. It's difficult to tell because this big heavy furler at the bottom is holding it flat. I can't really see any sign of it wanting to twist down here. Up here I should say, up at the head. One former Westray 16 owner posted that they always store the jib for the winter, rolling it up like this down the luff. So that is what I am going to do, and that, he said, helps to get rid of the any twist in the sail itself. That's where it can live then for the winter, and we'll see what happens when we get it out in the spring, if not before. But that's it for this week's video. Thanks again very much for watching, and special thanks for everyone that's liked and subscribed and left comments. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. All right, see you next time.